back to Sheep to Shepherds. This has been episode 6, Demons and Destruction. I'm here with Justin. We're here to share a great message with you tonight. And obviously, there's been a lot going on since the last time we talked, the last time we were able to get together. Obviously, a lot of good things, talking about angels and how we all have angels, and a great message back then. So hopefully you were able to listen to that. But now moving forward, a lot of things have happened in our personal lives, and that's why we haven't been able to record here over the last short term. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But there's a few Bible verses that I kind of want to share, Justin, with everybody, and kind of lead in with that, with scripture for tonight, as the message is demons and destruction, and obviously having a guiding light as to how we handle those things in life is highly important. So the first one, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 says, "Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour." And I think about that, right? Like, I don't know, like the hungry lion, like praying just out in a field, like looking for its next meal.
Yeah.
And that just, like, to me, that just reminds me of that. Like, that's how the devil works, man. Just waiting, just prowling around, waiting for you to become vulnerable and weak. And then boom, there he is. I mean, and how often do we find ourselves in life today, in society today, with all the distractions and all of the things that make us weak, to what we should be trying to do to positive, be positive in our lives and make a positive impact. I mean, how many things are tugging us in the other way,
Yeah.
And so there's another verse I want to share too, just to kind of get us started, that kind of goes along the same lines. It's from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. The title of this is "Some Will Depart from the Faith." And it says, "Now that the Spirit expressly says that in later times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and teachings of demons. Such teachings comes through hypocritical liars whose consciousnesses have been seared as with a hot iron." And I think about that and I'm like, man, like that's some pretty powerful stuff. Like, these people, the deceitful ones, they are going to have followers. And we talk about, like, the followers of Christ, and we talk about what that kind of looked like, or what that might have felt like. And you just see this really powerful, display of people. And then you go ahead and you say, okay, well, how is this affecting our society today? What demons are people following? What are we watching? What, again, as we've talked many times, what are we putting our energy towards?
Yeah.
And what power is growing based off of our energy? And that just really, man, I mean, we're going to talk about some things here coming up with Cardi B, the Grammys, some of the political changes that have been made. Like, man, like you wonder, you really wonder just kind of what's going on, who's in control right now, of what we're doing as people,
right?
And who are the masses following? That's one thing that I just wonder, because I've always kind of felt for myself personally that I've been, I don't want to say like a lone soul, like I'm not lonely, but I have a very close group of people that I know and I trust, and that's it. I don't need anybody else. I'm not looking for anything else. And I just wonder, just man, like, what are people missing that they want to support some of these things?
I wonder that all the time too, because it just seems so obvious to me, and me and you, we have a kind of a good better knowledge of what the signs are, what the of the signs of Satan and his kind of signature moves. So it's a little bit easier for us to pick it out, but the majority of the people don't see that. They don't
Right.
see those signs because they don't know about them, so they're not looking for them.
Right. I mean, one of the, like, I don't know. I was just watching this thing. I shouldn't have watched it. It's not good to watch, but it's on that show Vice. And it was about some Satanist guy in a house, and it was obviously televised and or news somewhere, obviously. Um, and the guy, like, was a Satan worshiper. People in the town knew that. People would hang out with the guy over at his house, and he killed two people and all this crazy stuff. And for me, again, like, what's missing? Like, what's missing? Why is this the life that's being chosen? Where's the disconnect? Because, like, I guess the way I look at it is, like, in my life, do I have everything I want? No. Geez, because we as people are wanting. Our society breeds us to want. We've talked about that. So what don't they have that they need to feel like they matter? Why is something else running their life like a demon, if you would? Because those, some of the choices that this, like, especially this guy that I was hearing about, like, the choices that he made are demonic in nature. So how I always wonder, how does that take place in a human?
Yeah, did you watch that? I think I sent you a video about this guy. I think his name was like John Ramirez or something like that. He was like a satanic, like, uh warlock. He was
Okay.
like he did all these like it
I
was
think I
kind
did
of
watch.
along the lines of Santeria and just like witchcraft. So like sacrificing hens and roosters and
Yeah. Yep. I
like
did see that.
animals and how he turned his life around, and he was like born again, kind of along the lines of like a Paul Saul story. He claimed to have been blind and then came back, and then God gave him his sight back, but um he kind of felt that same he I guess what got me thinking about it is he was introduced to Satanism when he was like 7 years old, and he got like a tarot card reading, right? And then that his dad was a Satan worshiper, and I think practiced Santeria, and was always like abusive, just an abusive parent, and so he was, and I think he was like part of some ritual when he was younger that was like led by his father and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of it comes from the previous generation, obviously,
Right.
you know.
Well, yeah, and
And
obviously the environment you're raised in, and but
right.
here was the odd thing about this story is that mom, who, it just seemed odd because, like, what I heard in these few videos I was listening to, this guy's mom lived in the house, and, like, when they went in and did the investigation, and these guys had to wear hazmat suits because of the conditions of the home, But when they went into like mom's room, it was just like kind of a normal room, a couple clothes here and there, nothing messed up. But the rest of the house, completely a disaster. But mom lives in this house. Mom also knew that he killed the two guys in the house, but like she just goes like to her daily job.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's very strange. And obviously the whole story doesn't get told, through anything that we hear anymore. But it was just very interesting today to hear that, especially with the message that we kind of want to share tonight. And, just those demons that are out there and the destruction that they do cause. I mean,
right.
it is astronomical how powerful some demons can really be over people. And hopefully tonight we can share a little bit about how we've seen that, obviously, and then also kind of what scripture has said about obviously being careful and cautious, but also having trust in the Lord, in those times of struggle or those times of weakness. So, but yeah, man, obviously since the last time we've talked, there's a lot that has happened. Obviously we've got some, I hate using terminology because it feels like you're picking a side and people are like, oh, he said this, or but I mean, like we have an immigration issue currently, obviously on the border. We're in the middle of a pandemic and we have a lot of people who are expecting to get in, and due to some things that were said, about coming to the United States, gaining or what is it, amnesty? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Or something like that, where they can, and when you think about that, it's just one of those. There's a lot. I mean, again, like it's hard to divide like a humanistic idea with the laws that we have. Now, both of those are to protect people, just in two different lights, in my opinion. From a humanistic perspective, like thinking about humans and just people and how we should treat people, yes, I would love to be able to just, anyone is welcome, and we will try to love them and take care of them. The problem is we have economies, businesses, lives, a lot of money that's in control that will be highly affected by those types of things. Those love is more important than money. I mean, that's not how our systems operate in any capacity.
Right.
And so, we have all these people trying to get in. Sounds like there's a lot of sickness. We still have the kids in cages, quote unquote, issue going on. And obviously just not a good way to treat humans in any capacity. But on the other hand, there's not many options when you have that many people, trying to come in. And by just letting them in, it may cause issues. You know what I mean?
100%.
One of the things I was thinking of the other day, I'm going, on one side of the argument table, we are highly concerned about CO2 emissions, right? Science is saying, we're too overpopulated. We need to reduce CO2 emissions, reduce the number of people who are having children, limit the number of children you can have, blah, 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 blah. All of that stuff to reduce overpopulation. Well, using the term overpopulation, it makes complete sense. If the world becomes overpopulated, we would run out of resources and things would become scarce and things would become very, warlike, and I'm going to need to take this from you. It's not, I'm going to buy it from you,
Right.
And, if everybody was running out of resources, that would happen. But that's a world scale. So minimize that to a country scale. Wouldn't it be the same? If you overpopulate a country and they run out of resources, the country would become
warlike,
right? I mean, I just feel like we're really, really pushing for one of those things, and then also pushing for the opposite on the other end, even though the result would be the same. Overpopulation causes an issue in resources.
Yeah.
So if that theory is right over here, then it should be right over here. It's like the transitive property. If overpopulation causes resource failure and resource failure causes death, and overpopulation causes death, so overpopulation in its capacity would be the issue.
Right. But are we actually like overpopulated?
Correct. And that's a quick, I don't know.
Is that kind of just like what we're being told? Do we have enough resources? And
Oh,
maybe is
100%.
it just in the eyes of, well, since we can't get our food the way that we should, like since mass farming and like these big farms that provide like all these big produce and like food processing plants like Tyson
Right.
and whatever, then is that where people kind of are like, well, since we have to do that, then does that mean that we are overpopulated since not everybody has access to this kind of stuff, or is it directly related to carbon emissions?
Right. And that's
CO2.
I've always been a little confused, honestly, on where the argument is. Like, is it strictly to reduce CO2 emissions, or is it to minimize the number of people, which will assist in the reduction of CO2 emissions? Because they're not the same.
The thing I saw this thing too, that all the permafrost that is being melted, like in Russia and Siberia,
Yeah.
where all this permafrost is no longer frozen anymore, it's kind of thawing out. All of that is kind of creating like a mini greenhouse effect because of all of the organic material that was previously frozen in the ice is now thawed out. And once
Right.
that is thawed out, then it's exposed to the oxygen, which breaks it down and creates carbon dioxide, which gives this crazy warming effect,
Right.
that puts out way more
Yeah.
than what, even like a country would put out, a full
Right.
country, because this
Yeah.
covers such a huge amount of land that it's like there's so many other natural factors that go into the spike of, CO2 emissions,
Right.
which is really crazy. And it's
Oh,
just a cycle
there's
that's been
thousands of
going
them.
on. It's just a cycle that's been, going on since the beginning of time.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I mean, do I believe that people can be, more efficient and be more, mindful of trying to be efficient in their life? Like, try not to be wasteful, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not that great at that. I'll accidentally let the sink run, but I do realize, like, man, there's people out there in the world that don't even get water. Like, the water is it's not a thing. They don't have access to running water. And
Right.
that, and that does go through my mind. And, it's bad habit, for being entitled, if you will, to basic needs of life. I mean, in our country, I would say the mass majority, I will say not everyone that lives in this country has access to those things.
Right.
But the mass majority does.
Yeah.
And that's, I think we take a lot of that for granted. And I think we could just be more, thoughtful, I guess. And we try to be, like, we started recycling a little bit more and trying to, actually do that instead of throwing everything in the garbage.
Yeah, it makes a huge
just
difference.
being more purposeful in that. And, I've never lived that way. And just changing the mindset, trying to, like, seeing it like, don't just go burn all the cardboard.
Right.
Because, like, recycle it, because it can be reused. And,
We
That makes sense.
I fill up I completely fill up every time the recycling bin goes out, it's almost filling over. It's
Yep.
almost spilling over the top of the freaking bin every time it goes out, and the in my trash can you can fit like another 2 or 3 bags in it every time. So that always feels good to be able to get, to put all that stuff in recycling.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's great. I mean ours has been full the last couple of weeks too, and it's nice to see that.
right,
I think it's just nice to be like, and honest to goodness, the majority of the people on our street uh, generally have a pretty full recycling bin, which is,
right.
I mean, it's different for me because
It
like
wasn't like that in Sheldon though, I feel like.
not really. I mean, we had like a little barrel we'd throw out there, and like a couple milk jugs. Like again, we didn't
Right.
recycle much when we lived down there,
Yeah.
and now we have a nice wheel cart, and I mean it's a big bin. We can fill it up, and you can get a bunch of stuff in there, and truck comes, picks it up, dumps it, restart, come back a week later, do it again, and the
Yeah.
nice thing is that stuff's being reused. It's kind of a nice idea to think about. Like people are reusing these, we can reuse this. And one of these boxes I'm going to get in the mail, in 3 years is probably a box I gave back
Yeah.
or, in some capacity. So it's kind of cool to think about. But no, I think in regards to resources, I think you're right. I mean, do we have enough resources if allocated correctly to host a lot more people? Yeah, I do. I think across the world, resources, if allocated correctly, I don't think anybody would have to struggle. The problem is that's not how economics works. I mean, there's a tiered system in pecking order, and when money gets involved, those humanitarian ideas don't matter anymore
Yeah.
because life revolves around money. And obviously the Bible tells us about that. And it tells us about, the want for money and that being the root to all evil. And I mean, geez, look at how our entire society functions around money. It's like everything.
Yeah.
And so, I always keep that in the back of my head as well. I mean, I always make jokes as a teacher. I don't make any money, living my passion, but not paying bills, but, the thing about it is I do love what I do, and I just don't worry about the money.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't have it, I don't need it. If we want to go enjoy something, let's just enjoy it. I mean, we get to live this life one time. I think a lot of people worry about money and are always like just like watching constantly how much money do we have, and I was really bad at that for a while, like always worried, and it was such a stressor, and for whatever reason I was just kind of like and it felt good, like we're going to be okay. I don't need to worry about how much money I make. I don't need to worry about if we're going to be able to pay the bills. Like it's going to figure it out. And if not, we're going to be able to move forward from it in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like we'll get it figured out. It might not be the way that we dreamed and wanted,
Yeah.
but we'll get it figured out. And I think that's the thing too, is we got to detach ourselves a little bit from our dreams sometimes when life happens.
Yeah.
But sometimes life happens, and we don't abort the mission, but put the game on pause for a little while.
Yeah, you're telling
Yeah.
me, dude. I know.
We know. I know.
Yeah, I've had that too, where I've been thinking about that a lot, and I don't know, just like looking back at I've been reading Genesis a little bit and just seeing how God provided for like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and how he provided for all, even their descendants and the people. They were all, you know extremely blessed
Right.
in everything that they had. They had so much wealth the time of their death, but they were always like Jacob. He worked for his uncle
Right.
Laban for like I don't know. He had to work 7 years to marry one daughter and 7 years to marry another daughter, and then he worked there. He continued to work for him, until he had like all of the tribes of Israel, the 12
Right.
sons, pretty much.
Right.
And but it's just kind of crazy because just to look back and see how and God's that's kind of the message throughout the Bible. The whole Bible is, don't worry.
Right. Put your worries to me. Like, leave them to God. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and how often is that said, in the Bible? And the other thing is like, how, in a weird way, how much of a cliche has that become in society? I'll just give it to God. Like, people say it to each other all the time, but what's that? What, like,
Yeah.
do you mean that? Like, because if you do, it's a good thing when you mean that. And hopefully the person that received the message knows what that means, because that's a thick message, coming out in a few short words.
Yeah, but the thing is, not everybody does know what that means, and not
Exactly.
everybody wants to hear that.
Exactly.
I mean, a majority of this world doesn't even want to hear those words. Give it to God. Nobody, I mean, because that's like a trigger for most people. That's just like, oh, this is bullshit because you said that. Just because
Yeah.
you said God, just
Right.
because you're saying the
Once
word God
religion,
or
and here's the
Jesus
thing
or
is,
yeah,
and that's the other thing is, like, people automatically, obviously, connect God to religion.
yeah,
Problem is religion has become such a societal issue that it is completely, I guess you could say, defaced how people see God. And I find that as an obvious attack from these demons and Satan, right? Like, how do we control the people so that they view God differently and believe that maybe God is the root to all of the problems because of religion? And then think about how society attacks religion. Jesus in 2001, the United States, as well as whoever got the message from the United States, Muslim terrorists were the worst people in the world. Well, why attach the religion? Just, they're terrorists. They're terrible people. They're killing other people. They're just terrorists. Let's just give them their own category. Don't bring religion into it. Just, these are bad people. The color of their skin doesn't matter. Their religion doesn't matter. They're bad. They were just bad people. Why can't we just say that?
yeah. I don't know. I mean,
But again, there's a reason for that, because if we're divided, we're not very strong. And who can the devil attack? Those who are weak.
right.
And if we are divided, we are weak. And as people, we know right now we are divided in ideologies, in faith, in pretty much every aspect of our lives right now. If you watch any local news channel or you watch any cable news channel, you just listen to the message, listen to the verbs, listen to the the adjectives that they use in regards to, like, how big of a deal race is, and how big of a deal religion is, and how big of a deal all of these issues are that are literally between people. We know we all got issues. So why don't we just come together to try to fix them? It's just so hard, but it's because we get pushed, man. Boom, 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 boom. The message just keeps hitting us in the face. You're not okay. You're not okay. And you're not okay because of this person.
America's racist.
Oh,
It's just constantly drilled into your mind.
yeah.
In every TV show that we're watching, it's like it's got to be politicized in that way somehow.
Every
Like we're
every
watching
every
we're
single.
watching The Good Doctor right now. I don't know if
Hmm.
you have
Oh yeah,
ever seen that.
good show.
It's a great show.
Yeah,
They
I like it.
are they are so kind of all of their doctors except for Sean are, you know, a person of color, we would say.
Right.
And and they made it an issue in one of the episodes, and they make it like they try to make put little racial things in peppered in here and there, but it's yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, man. My biggest issue with it, honestly, I mean, sorry, I was deep in thought there for a second, but I just the hard part is for me is again, you and I have talked about this because obviously we grew up not seeing it, being a part of the system, never recognizing the message being present, you know. And then for whatever reason, you and I both kind of just stumbled upon like, whoa, what is being fed to us every day? What are we consuming every day? And the message is clear. I mean, jeepers creepers. You like we said, you turn on anything, the TV shows, uh, any type of live event on any of the cable TV networks. I mean, anything like that is politicized
Yeah,
and
and monitored.
and sharing the common message, and it's just it's upsetting.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, when you start looking at it, I mean, even like local news, like my hometown, uh, the Quad City Times, KWQC. You know, I mean, I follow them on Facebook, and they do great reporting. I will say that they're always live events and all that kind of stuff. They're there all the time. But my issue is like reading the words and hearing the message that they're trying to give is very political, and it bothers me. You know, I love my hometown, and I think it's important to share a neutral message. Let the people figure it out, and it takes one person to spark it. You know, one spark doesn't create the flame. It ignites a little bit at a time until the flame gets in full force. You know, it's not instant. It takes time, but somebody out there in the world that wants to just share the news could make a huge difference. Leave your feelings out of it. Just give us the facts and let people figure it out. That would solve a lot of problems because then you're not telling people how to feel about the other side.
But how do you even get to that point from the point where we are at now? Like, how can you even
I don't know.
navigate there?
That's exact. Well, and how do you get a platform
To
to do?
stick.
I don't know.
You
And
know,
that
there's places like the Daily Wire. They have, you know, good news. They're a good conservative news
right,
source, you know, with like Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, and uh, there are other people who do stories, and I can't pull the names, but you know, or like Steven Crowder, he does a
yeah,
conservative show, and a few other things, but they're always in, you know, at least the Steven Crowder show, he, you know, goes live on YouTube, so YouTube censors him. Twitter
right,
censors him. He kind of relies on the mainstream media to get his content out there, but he's constantly getting censored and getting
right.
his videos demonetized,
So
you
only
know.
things can be heard. I mean, you don't get the whole story.
Yeah, but then when you look at a you know, company like the Daily Wire, they're more um uh, how do you say, they're more independent. They have, you know, their own kind of streaming platform, I guess, their own news source, their own websites.
Yeah, they kind of have their own rules.
But they still get censored on Twitter
Right,
and Facebook a lot.
which is where the masses are.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I was listening to a guy the other day, and he's talking about how, you know, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is in control of 7 billion people, or billions of people, whatever it was, like 1 billion people, however many people are on Facebook.
Yeah.
He controls the message to that many people. Like, he is a very powerful human, like not just him, but his company, and whoever can, obviously. But same thing with Twitter. I mean, how many people in the world access that? How much is being censored? Like, obviously, terrible things should be censored, but people's opinions shouldn't.
Yeah.
Even if they're not socially acceptable, let the people figure that out.
Yeah.
Let the people like, whoa, that was overboard, man. Well, that's why you get comment sections. If you think we said something that you don't like, say it. We might not reply, but hey, voice your opinion.
I've listened to some pretty crazy debates on the Joe Rogan Experience, where he brings on like Jack Dorsey and Tim Pool, two kind of guys. Well, Jack Dorsey, obviously, you know who that is, the owner
Yep.
of Twitter, and
Yep.
he brought in this guy, who was just kind of bringing up all of these instances where people would get banned from Twitter, or get like their information released, doxing, and and it's just so, it just kind of goes back and forth and back and forth, and Jack it's always like, well, we can't, if we do this then we can't do this, and if we do this then we can't do this, and it never ever, it's so frustrating because they never come to any substantial resolution. Same
Ever.
thing with all these guys uh going in front of Congress and just being like, all right, I guess we'll try better,
Yeah.
and
That's
then
like,
they
all right.
go on their way.
Well, all right. Call it a day. We'll reconvene tomorrow and see if we can figure something out.
And yeah, it's just, how do you, there has to be like just a complete, oh, I don't know, shutdown of Facebook, or in Twitter, or if it's just like, but there's no way. People are too used to being connected at
Exactly.
this level.
Yeah. They've
And what's that?
they've created a monster
Yeah.
that now is almost out of control. And truthfully, yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, it's grown to an extent where people rely on it, where if you were to shut it down, it would cause mass chaos. And I think that's where it becomes the people's responsibility to realize what's going on. I just had this uh, kind of same scenario with a student who wrote an argument paper about, canceling the tobacco industry. Like, get rid of all vaping products, get rid of all cigarettes, because there's no benefit to them. There's no physical healthy benefit to them for any life. There's nothing that is good in a cigarette, and so, or a vape pen or anything like that, right? And so he's like, this should all be gone. And my only question to him was, I agree, but please explain to me how you will stand before Congress and tell the $957 billion industry, explain to me how you will do that. And that's the same thing with Twitter. And that's the same thing with Facebook. How? We know it needs to happen. But how can you walk in front of Congress or in front of whoever needs to hear it and say, for so many years, you have known that you have been killing people with your product. You have made it more addictive. You have advanced your products with flavors to attract new customers. You have marketed your products to children and the youth so that they gain addiction at a younger age and buy your products for a longer period of time. And you need to stop. It's you should be done. That's terrible. You're killing people. And they sit back in their chair and they go, yeah, we know. Thank you for your time. We will discuss that and find the right solution moving forward. And then, hey, guess what we do? This product may cause cancer. Okay, that's good enough. Moving on. Sell them out, baby. Change the look on the boxes. Start marketing those bad boys. Hey, we got new flavors, but it might cause cancer. Just so you know. That's how it's going to be. Facebook's going to get a slap on the wrist. Hey, don't do this anymore. Look how much money they're bringing in, man. Again, this world is controlled by money. So we know that there's a lot of evil out there. Yeah. And talking about that, I mean, let's talk about the Grammys. Talking about a lot of money out there. Talking about a lot of evil, it appeared to me. And I didn't even watch it. We'll just say that.
Either.
I've heard about it and I've seen clips of it, and obviously the talk on the town, which no different than giving mass or credit to a mass shooter by displaying the name and showing the face and everything like that. I mean, here talking about it is giving credit to it, and I hate that. But Cardi B's performance was absolutely, I guess, in my opinion, I could just say uncalled for in every capacity of what we should be doing as a society. Like,
what was it? Just like a stripper routine? I didn't even.
Oh man, it was. I mean, I don't want to get too detailed on our podcast. People can go out and see it if they want, and if you're, I don't recommend any kids watch it in any capacity. This is like definitely the not safe for work category. This would be like 18 plus category. But the issue with that is that it was publicly televised. So for me to say that, dude, this is the content that was on TV, but it was public television on daytime TV or nighttime TV. So it's like, how can I say that it should have been, rated when it wasn't? But I mean, we're talking very skimpy clothes. I mean, very tight, very showing clothing. Obviously, it's Cardi B. That's pretty much all we get. But then the other lady, I don't know her name, whoever performs the song with her. Like I said, I mean, I just kind of see what's going on, but I definitely don't follow these people in any capacity. But they, I mean, dude,
I think that's like Megan Thee Stallion or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. That's
which is another ridiculous name because I mean she's calling herself a male horse. Stallion, dude. I mean,
yeah,
that's weird.
It's like different.
She's just, I mean, someone would have to have notified her that a stallion is a male
horse. Well, and it's the stallion, which is weird. Like the stallion, not stallion. That's her last name. It's the stallion, which is weird. But either way, the performance.
Megan the Mayor.
They're I mean, to say it just straight up, I guess it was like a softcore pornography show.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hate saying that. It's like they were dry humping on stage. They had barely any clothes on. There was a lady in a box with a bunch of money floating around and in a strip club type of thing. And this is all on public TV. And in my brain, I'm going, dude, we just canceled Dr. Seuss. We just said that whatever he said in there about the characters on the island and one of the books and blah, 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 and all these things. It's but those were good books. Those were Dr. Seuss books. Those are okay. I mean, there's no, the message is perceived by whoever's telling the message. Dr. Seuss, you're reading a book. It's creative. It's different. If mom and dad tell you that the book's racist, then you believe the book is racist. The book is not racist when a kid reads it. It's enjoyable. It's creative. It's different. Yeah. It's the creative side of the brain. But yet we're going to cancel him. We're going to get rid of Pepe Le Pew. We're going to get rid of whoever else. Geez, we got rid of Chase out of Paw Patrol when we were defunding the police, and all of that kind of stuff. We're getting rid of all these cartoons, and then we put Cardi B's butt right up on zooming in on public TV. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you like? How is this not obvious to people that they are really just these whoever's in control? I mean, Hollywood or whoever controls Hollywood or whoever's running the money gate, whatever. I mean, they are definitely putting it out there for you to get the message that they want you to just live a destructive life. And they want you to follow these deceitful demons that we've talked about in scripture. And that's what they want you to spend your energy on. They're putting it right in front of you constantly. And now they don't even care what the content is. I mean, geez, not too long ago, Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson are performing at the Super Bowl halftime performance, and her boob pops out of her dress or whatever. And geez, that was like a big scandal, big issue. Like that should never happen. Now we've got to delay time and blue. And now we just put it on TV.
It's just out there.
It should, hey, this is good. We like that.
Because even that Janet Jackson thing, she still had something covering her nipple too, right? Did she have like a pasty on or something?
I have no idea, but I think so. I don't think there was much anything showing. It was just.
Like I never saw it in person, but
no, me neither. But I just remember it happening. It was a big ordeal, and we're like, geez, now we just like, hey, Cardi B, go out there and do your thing.
Yeah,
and
just take your clothes off and just go shake it.
And the question is like, okay, as a person, why go out and do that? Why go out and do that? Why is that you? And guess why? There's money. She get paid to do that. She gets paid to be that character, man. She gets paid to go out there and celebrate those flaws of humanity, if you will. Those wanting sex and wanting money and drugs. And I mean, geez, I'm pretty sure she drugged some guys and slept with them and stole from them.
That's right.
And like admitted to it, and nothing happened to her. Now she's the public figure. I mean, she was the person of choice to interview our current president. She was the one that did the interview. And so ask yourself, why is she in front of our face so much? Why is this person who makes these life choices, which the majority of people would be like, nah, I'm good. That's not really me, and I don't really want to watch that. And I don't really want my kids to watch that. And hey, I mean, go live your life, but hey, that's just not for me. It's being forced. Again, we talked about this way back in one of our first episodes. I mean, if you have cable television and that is it, which is, majority middle-class families and down, they have at least cable TV, but that which is your NBC, CBS, and ABC, and that's what you get. That was on TV. That's what you get.
And you say down, middle class and down.
Right.
It's not up.
No.
Those guys, the upper, they're not looking at the news. They're not, they're the ones that are, they're advocating these things and, running that agenda so they can make that money.
Yep. The people's lives don't matter anymore because money's taking control. The focus is on the money, not the person.
Yeah.
I got to have the money to do this. I have to have the money to do that. I have to pay for this Bentley.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do to get that money? I don't want to lose my Bentley. And that's what, that's the way we as people are being bred to live. You got to have money to live. You got to have money to be happy. You got to have money to have things. And I think the Bible is pretty straightforward about what it says about material world things.
Mm-hmm.
Those will just turn into dust. Those don't matter. In the end of your life, the things that you had don't matter.
Yeah.
The lives that you've changed and the people that you've touched and the message that you've shared that matters. So, I mean, if I was able to sit down and talk to Cardi B, like without any media, like how you and I are talking right now, that just like her and me have a straight up conversation, person to person, I'd be like, what are you trying to share with the world before you go? It's a guarantee that you are going to die. So what are you leaving behind you? Because you can't take the money, you can't take the fame, you can't take the cars, you can't take the sex, you can't take the drugs, can't do any of that. So what are you leaving behind you when you go? What message did you leave? What are people going to remember you for? I know what I'm going to remember her for right now. And I wish that if she was to pass before me, I would be able to say, man, she turned her life around and she's doing great things. She's really changing people's lives for the better. I would love to be able to say that. But that's not how Hollywood works.
No, it's not at all. And I listened to these. I get so much of my entertainment from Hollywood, from comedians, from not necessarily like a bunch of movies, and it's not a wide range of like media. It's kind of just like my podcast and some of the shows that I listen to, and there nobody talks about like Christianity in a good light. Like it's not like, oh, even like, oh well, these people are being positive, so this is good. It's like, oh, you're Christian, you're a kook, this it's there's just this stigma that's attached to Christianity and Jesus in Hollywood and in these circles that it's just it sucks because you want to get that content that you've always gotten, and you like you like what these people do because it's funny, it makes you feel good, but then you're conflicted if you really want to actually keep following them because it's not godly, but then again, we can still be in the world but not be of the world, you know
Correct.
and and sift through that information and discern for ourselves,
Right.
what we know is right and true.
Right. And that was a conversation I had with somebody the other day. And I was just like, hey, like, I'm glad we brought Jesus into the conversation. And the content was about, like hanging out with people who are less fortunate, trying to share the good message and those types of things. And the difference that I had brought up in the conversation was, yeah, I mean, Jesus did hang out with the less fortunate. He did reach out to those people. He did put hands on those people, but he didn't partake in what they were doing. And when he shared the message with those people, he always did it publicly so that other people could see it as well. They never hid the message. They never tried to hide it. And I always see that because I'm not a big fan of, and I'm guilty. I will say it, but and I call myself out for it, and I try to catch myself doing it. And I mean, it's just a part of being a human, but and I give these breaks to other people too, but I think we got to stop using Jesus as an excuse. Like, well, this is who he hung out with. Well, yeah, he did. He did hang out with those people, but he didn't do what they did. I mean, yeah, he shared message with the Romans, the people that hated him, the people that were adulterers and, just drinkers and partiers and all these people, living this glorious royal life. Yeah, he didn't do that with them, but he talked with conviction to them every time he had the chance. He made them think about what they were doing without telling them that they were wrong, without pointing the finger and saying, you're a horrible human. he was able to share a message that they didn't necessarily like, and thus the ending of his life, but the reality of all that is he wasn't doing it. He was sharing a message about it,
Mm-hmm.
and what comes with that, or what happens because of that, or what's affected by that, or here's how we should see it, or here's what we should go to instead, or whatever the message was, or question yourself, like, may what I can't remember the verse completely, but the may he who cast the first stone, like, well, like, be free of sin. Well, that person's not, like, everybody knew at that moment, like, geez, I've done some bad things too in my life. I'm not doing this.
Right.
Like, we've all done bad things, and we just need to own up to those things. I think once I figured that out in my life, that, what, you don't have to hide your mistakes, man. You can talk about them. People will be there to help you. If you talk about them, and you talk about the right people, not your friends on Snapchat, not all your Instagram followers, not your TikTok followers and your Facebook followers and your million view people, but those people don't care about your life. They don't care about you. They're caught in the system. They're like hamsters in the wheel. They're just clicking likes and scrolling through videos. Like, they don't love you. They might type that, but they don't love you. They're not going to come to your funeral. They're not going to come to your aid when you need the help in the deepest parts of your life. They're not going to do that. There's not many people in anyone's life who would do that. Those are the people you need to talk to. I think you and I both are, in a way, that person for each other on things. And sometimes you and I have vent sessions where it's like, man, I'm really struggling with this, or like, this is really affecting me, or whatever it may be. And we need those people, but those people aren't people on the internet. You're not going to ever get the right feedback from those people. And society, again, I mean, is telling us that that's where we should go. I mean, everything is going digital and technological. But don't forget about the people right in front of you that actually love you and care about you and will actually be there for you when you need it. Because that's what actually matters, like, in life, because when you struggle, the internet's not going to help you. People aren't going to come through your screen and put an arm around you and go get you some ice cream from the freezer. They're not going to do that. They're not doing that for you. So don't isolate yourself from the people that are by it,
And I always think of these, when you're going through social media and you see all these posts, these like Instagram reels, and you see all these people dancing and, like mouthing along with these certain, like, audio,
right?
Certain audio that is like pulled from a different video. They're lip syncing the words from that other video, and or like a song or something like that, and it's like, why are you, what are you getting from this other than just trying to get more likes?
Right.
Like, what is
And
this
then
gonna do
I
for
always
you?
ask the kids, because, like, they're all, all my kids, and I love all my high school kids, even some of the ones that don't think I do. It's just tough love sometimes isn't fully understood at times. But, like, what does TikTok famous mean? And I always ask that question. So, all right, you become TikTok famous. Let's say you get 1 million views. What does that do for you? What do you get from that? Like, do you get anything from that? Do you win anything? Like, do you get a scholarship? Do you get money? I don't know. I mean, I don't have TikTok, but I'm just thinking, like, what are we gaining? Like, what is purposeful in becoming TikTok famous? Because that seems to be a pretty big trend. I mean, geez, I think I said this in one of our last episodes, but I was driving down the road one day and I just saw this girl she was pulled off on the side of the road with a friend, and not here in town, this is somewhere else. and just had the phone out on the bumper, and they were doing some dance. And I'm like, we are on the highway. And what is this? What is this going to give you? Like, let's say that, yeah, this nice Lambo drives by, slows up, pulls behind you during your dance video. Sick. You get 1 million views. And then what? That's it. And then we try again. It's like a game you can never win. It's like playing games at the carnival. Can't win those games. They're rigged. You can't win the game. You'll never have enough views. It's an addiction. You'll never have enough streaks on Snapchat. You'll never have enough likes on Facebook. It's a trap. It's a psychological trap. You're always going to want more.
Yeah. And then you go and look at like the people from that got famous from Vine before,
right,
like Logan Paul, King Batch,
right,
other people like Josh Bell. He's famous on Vine and other people. But you look at like Logan Paul, for example. It was that thing of just keep going harder and harder, just more and more, until I don't know if you remember when he went to Japan and filmed that death forest, that suicide forest, and they filmed that dead guy and posted like a dead guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he got a bunch of shit for it, and they pretty much tried to cancel him. But then he like took some time off, apologized, and came back, and he was, he wasn't doing as many videos, but still just constantly having to get that validation from social media and YouTube, but also trying to run a business, trying to make money now.
What it is. It's just it's a habitual and a psychological addiction.
But he's like one of the only people. I mean, there's a small group of people who actually got super famous and extremely talented and are actually talented and could carry that on and continue that wealth and kind of like put that into other investments and stuff like that. But
no, and I understand that, because obviously there are people out there that have talents that don't get noticed from the environment that they're in, that you can share publicly. The right person picks you up. You can make it big.
But the thing is, he got exactly what he wanted. Now he is completely Hollywood lifestyle, and he's completely just like, he's famous, completely famous.
Right.
I mean, like one of the most famous people in the world, and and he's not happy. I mean, go look at any of his content. He looks like he's miserable, but he's just trying to figure shit out. He's still like, what is he, like 26, 28?
Somewhere around there, I think.
But after all of his like kind of scandals and stuff, he did come back and he was just like, yeah, I'm just trying to figure shit out. I'm just trying to think of how, I'm just trying to make it through this. And he's, you can tell that he's got a thought process and that he's a smart dude, and he's, capable of like a intellectual conversation.
Right.
And but he's just stuck in that Hollywood mindset, and that's never gonna get him to happiness, because he's probably never been like exposed to true happiness.
No, and then like I said, I mean, some people get famous, but when I look at like, and I'm not trying to make fun or call anybody stupid or anything like that, because I get it. It's a new trend. It's cool. It's fun. It is in a way social and brings some friends together to do cool videos and dances and stuff, and it probably does build relationships a little bit. But I just look at like, man, like everyone's doing the same dance. How many people can get famous doing the same thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the uniqueness?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the talent? Where's the skill? Where's the, man, you just came up with something that no one else has ever done. You just came up with something that's phenomenal. Like we're copying now. We're just doing what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's odd. I just find it weird. And again, it's that constant. I need more. I can get more. I can. It's like a fake. I can be better. Like, yeah, you can be better, but you're not getting anything out of it. Like even the effort you're putting in, you're not getting anything. Like you'll either be not famous or you'll be famous. There's no like, you're kind of famous, and you're kind of winning. Like I don't see that in a lot of these efforts that are being made, and then the distraction that it makes to what you could actually be doing with your time is what I think about, especially as a teacher and in the school, and just seeing how distracting a lot of these like, new things are, TikTok and Snapchat and all that. Like it's constant. It's a constant addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it, I mean, I heard we were listening to a video in class about addiction, and this guy was talking about addiction, and he's talking about how, we as a society have a misconception about addiction, because it's not just like, okay, yeah, the chemical imbalance gets in your brain and then you're screwed. It's just not how it works. There's a lot more to it. And when we're talking about, how people get addicted, and we talk about the environment in which they're in and how that plays a factor, and all of those things. I mean, I asked my students, I said, how many of you think that you have an addiction before we watched the video? And then after we watched the video about what addiction really looks like what is that? Because the guy kind of made it joke, like, when we told you guys that you couldn't have your phones in this TED Talks, you all looked like you were scrambling for 3 minutes to contact your drug dealer because he knew he wasn't going to be here. Like one of those like jokes, like it's like, I told my kids, I said, you guys got that joke, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, you realize that's how you guys look when you come into class. All of them are on, like, got to get a text in, got to get a text in, got to get a Snapchat in, got to get this in. And it carries into the classroom. And it's like, for what? Just so the other person knows you're still alive? Like, I mean, most of the time they just like, sometimes I see like a picture of a face, but then sometimes I see a picture of just like the ground or like a picture of the wall. And that kids are taking like just random pictures and like sending them to people. And I'm just like, is that to like keep this thing that's a streak alive? I don't, or is it like, are you just letting them know that you're here, that you're alive? Like, is this an emergency thing? I don't know. Like, I don't get it. Like, if I'm going to send you a picture and I want to talk to you, it's probably going to be of my face, or I'm just going to call you, because if I call you, we could actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
You don't have to have any questions. We could just talk about it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait. We're talking.
That's what's nice about my lifestyle now, is it's like I don't have to really deal with any of that kind of stuff,
Very, very interesting. And I don't, and again, I mean, we're in a new world. I mean, high school is not the same as it was when we were in high school, and high school wasn't the same for us as it was for our parents. I mean, obviously, as generations adapt and society changes, we get a whole new look at what's going on. But I will tell you, like, it is definitely an issue. Like, you can see the addiction, and no different than taking drugs away from a drug addict. Anger becomes the consequence of removing that addiction. Just instant anger or instant denial, or just a really bad coping mechanism for removing the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it's not good.
Destructive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just very interesting. And so obviously there's a lot of that going on with just different type of control, different mindsets, different. Just what are we spending our time on? What are we getting out of it? I do like other people's things to let them know, like I think it's funny or something. Generally, I comment on it though, so just because I like to talk, I'm like, hey, that was pretty funny. Thanks for that. Like that made me laugh. Like I feel like that means more. Like,
Oh yeah.
hey man, that actually made me laugh out loud today. That was funny.
Nice.
Like, you know what I mean? Instead of being like, thumbs up.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm more of a thumbs up guy myself. It's like
I know you are. But no, man. And then I don't know. There's other things going on too, obviously, in life. I mean, geez, I just feel like there's a huge contradiction right now between our federal government and the majority of the states in the country.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man. I just think it's crazy. Like, one, okay, federal government, I believe, issued some type of bill allowing transgender athletes to participate in the opposite sport or something along those lines. Whatever, that came out, that bill passed or was signed or whatever. So like a transgender male. No. Yes.
Yes.
A biological male who identifies as a female could compete in female athletics. I believe that was the whole premise of what they were discussing, and I'm pretty sure that was like federally accepted, because then a bunch of states started writing state legislation banning that. So like I don't know how many, but I heard of a bunch that were like, no, we're not allowing that in our state.
Oh jeez.
And then so I mean, there's one thing where it's like, we've got the federal government's making choices that states don't agree with. What's new, right? Like no big deal. But that's just one. We have a bunch of states suing the Biden administration or Joe Biden or whoever they sue for canceling the pipeline, because they believe it was unconstitutional and he didn't have the right to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But that's taking place right now. So you got that, and then the biggest one for me is gun control, because in the state of Iowa, like whether it gets signed or not, the reality is there's like some type of legislation or bill right now that is reducing some sort of restrictions on like permit to carries. I don't know the whole bill. I didn't read it or anything like that yet. But there's a bill out there to, basically reduce a restriction of some sort on gun control in the state of Iowa, which is completely opposite to what the federal government and our new administration has been discussing in regards to gun control. It's the complete.
Yeah, I saw a little something that Skylar Wheeler had posted on Facebook, and I was like, I didn't have time to read any articles, but I was like, is that true? I mean, it just sounded so crazy because it was like that, not anything what I was expecting,
No, I mean, that's what I mean. It's like everything I've been watching on quote unquote cable TV or just the local news channels, basically, when it's NBC with Lester Holt, and he's talking about all the issues we have in this country. I was like, man, it's pretty nuts. Just it is. It's just nuts. It's just I don't get it. Like it's like the federal government's like, hey, we're gonna do this, and then everybody's like, nah, no, we're not. We don't agree with that. So why is that the decision being made then? I don't get that.
And what is that gonna do? What is
that
gonna do for our?
Like in a weird way, I feel like our governor or like our state's like, All right, time to load up. Government's making bad choices.
Yeah.
And that's just like in one way, that's the way I thought about it. And I'm like, that's not good. And then I heard a video, Phil Robertson. I think I shared it with you. I might not have. I will if I didn't. But he's talking about hunting licenses or hunt. Yeah, how many registered hunters there are. And he's talking about Wisconsin. So obviously a connection to you. And he starts off by saying, basically, do you know how many registered hunters there are in the state of Wisconsin? And he goes, 600,000. He goes, in the state of Wisconsin, one state, 600,000. And he goes, so that would mean Wisconsin would be the 8th largest military in the world. The problem with that is Wisconsin's not the largest licensed hunting state in our country. They're just one state at 600,000. Pennsylvania, 750,000. You get down into like Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and all of those other states, millions. And he's just like, there's he's basically talking about how the United States is the only country where citizens have the right to bear their own arms. And there's a reason for that, which is equivalent to the reason that we don't get attacked on our own soil. It would be the dumbest choice for any military in the entire world, foreign or domestic, to attack the people of the United States. Because over 30 million, most likely, probably more than that, have guns.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. And he's talking about how, like, we, the people, are our own national security. If we were ever attacked, we would be able to defend our country as the people of the country. Not many other countries are able to say that.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you think about, okay, well, think about the opposition then. Gun control laws in full come into place, right? They come in, they take up every gun, right? And then like China hears about that, which something tells me that with our new administration, China would know probably the same day it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would know, yep, okay, we can go now. Because we can't protect our own country anymore. The people couldn't. The only thing we'd have to rely on is our government. Right now, we can rely on ourselves to protect ourselves in any capacity based on the Second Amendment. And by changing that or removing guns or access to weapons to good people, like to reduce that or to minimize that or anything in that capacity, would only be doing a disservice to the national security of our country. And it was just really interesting. And I was like, whoa, Phil Robertson, you crushed that. Like, sometimes I listen to you guys and I don't know what you guys are saying. But that he crushed that message. So I don't know what the message or what the video was called. It was only like 7 minutes, but I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense in my head, 100 fold. Like, that's crazy. And again, I mean, we have to think about this. That's just registered hunters. And I understand that registered hunters could be registered in multiple states. So there's probably double dipping. But on the other end, that's just registered.
Registered hunters, not even just gun owners.
And not unregistered, unlawful gun owners.
Right.
Which we know there's a lot of them too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just find it very very odd, the contradictions that we're seeing right now. I mean, it just appears that the current federal government is not necessarily making decisions that states agree with right now. And the states are like fighting back in a sense, like lawsuits that are public, public messages against the government from states and state officials. It just seems very not worrisome, but just not, it doesn't sound good, I guess.
Right.
But in all of that, though, man, I mean, obviously, there's always good out there. There's always good out there because God is present in our lives all the time and He is good.
Amen, brother.
So, a couple verses I want to share before we close up shop tonight, just to kind of provide a little comfort, a little security, and a little hope from Scripture, because obviously in our lives, that's kind of what we have to. That's what we have. That's what we get. We talked about, who loves you. Is it the 2 million followers you have, or is it the people that are in your home that you haven't talked to in 3 days because you've been taking selfies? I mean, we got to start asking ourselves those questions. And so Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." And I know there's a lot of people out there, and whoever listens to this, there might be questioning and all of those types of things, or a complete you know absence of Christ in a life. But that doesn't mean that he might not be there. I mean, I believe He's there. I know Justin believes He's there. We've seen Him working in our lives. And so why not try it? Talk to Him. He'll hear you. It's a given. He'll hear you. So give it a shot. The other one is, finding security. Psalms 18:6 says, "I have set the Lord always before me, because He is at my right hand. I shall not be shaken." Again, like we've talked about, standing firm in the Lord provides a security blanket around us. We don't have to worry about anything. That is hard, but it's true. And then the last one is just finding a little bit of hope in life. So James 1:17. "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change." And I think that's something we need to consider as people. Like, how did we get the things we got? Why did we get the things we get? And why do we have that like good luck? And why do we have that bad luck? And why do things not go our way? And what message do we gain from that? Is it a good message? Are we seeing the good in the message that may have seemingly be negative in what's going on? Is there something good in that?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we can always find good in something.
Yeah,
Even,
and I think I think we should be careful of our definition of good and gifts from above.
yeah,
It's not material. Like we've been saying, it's
not
not material. It's not money. It
a
may
boot,
have. I mean, God can bless you in so many different ways.
100%.
And you can't be. You have to open up your mind to recognizing those different blessings.
100%.
Because you could be waiting. You're like, oh, God isn't blessing me because I don't have any money. I don't have enough money to do what I want to do. But, you could be missing the point entirely somewhere
Right.
else.
Right. You could be forgetting again what's right in front of you as you try to chase that money.
Yeah.
And I just see that in our society today quite a bit. And I don't know if I'm like an old soul in a 31-year-old body, or if I don't know if I'm just lazy. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just like, man, like I have no need to strive to just need more money to have more things. Like I am fully satisfied with what I have. And if I've lost some of the things that I have, like my cars, or I mean, geez, if I had to live in a smaller house or lose my lawnmower, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's like, just we'll figure it out.
My grandpa Jansma, he said he gets um he gets kind of labeled as a kook and a guy who doesn't have any filter and just kind of shoots from the hip, doesn't really think about his consequences of his words. And but he's he's so wise in his thinking and his speeches, because it is last time we were there at his house, he said, more money just means more responsibility. He's like, you can have, he's like, look at your dad. He's got plenty of money, but he's also has all these things that he has to worry about.
Yep.
He has so many things that he has to worry about. And that, granted, there's always going to be things that we have to worry about, but money doesn't answer all those things. If you have more money, you're going to use it, and you're going to have more to
Right.
keep track of, basically.
Yeah.
And sometimes that in life can be a burden, because you're not focusing on the things that that you should be, basically.
Right.
What we've been saying this whole time.
I mean, sometimes less is more, right? There's that old saying, less is more. I
Yeah.
mean, some minimize a little bit, get all those distractions out of your life, and kind of see what life has to offer without those
Right.
things. And sometimes that can be very eye opening, very uplifting, and very just that breath of fresh air that so many people are looking for, but they're looking in the wrong places.
Mm.
Sometimes just getting away from those distractions, putting the phone down, going for a walk, and just thinking. Sometimes that's good. And with that, I mean, anything else that is going on? I mean, obviously a lot we've talked about tonight, and there's tons more to talk about, but obviously we'll be making another episode. So
Yes. Yeah, I just want to, it just seems to be a recurring thing at the end of every podcast to say, just be thankful for what you have, and be
100%.
grateful for your existence here on this beautiful planet.
100%.
And just gather as much knowledge as you can, and just keep moving forward, and just know that God is good, and he is the provider.
All the time.
Yep.
All the time. Amen, man. So cool, man. Well, hey, we will close up shop for the night, and then see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. We always do.
That's right, buddy.
All right, man. Well,
yep. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Together with our differences, together we are bolder, braver, stronger.